All right, everybody, welcome back. It's episode 109 of the Canadian Private Lenders Podcast with your hosts Ryan and Neal. Neal, let's let the listeners know where we are right now.
Check out our new space.
Yeah, you got to watch on YouTube, I guess, for this episode. Or I
Yeah.
guess for this 30-second intro we're about to record. But
Yeah, you don't have to watch the episode on here, but just watch the intro. We've got the studio 90%.
yeah, 90% of the way there. Final touches. Next couple episodes will be live in studio. Can you believe it's been over 3 months since we've been in a studio, like our own studio?
I can't. I was saying
Time's
the other day
just
how
melting.
long. Yeah, time is melting. We've actually been in here for a little bit. Was it September that we moved?
Yeah, we moved 2 months ago, I guess, into here, and finally get the studio set up. But we've just been on the road and going hard on the interviews.
Yeah.
Which we got another one for you today. We just had Arlen Ekstein on, VP of Sales and Marketing for Tembo Financial in Toronto. Real interesting conversation.
Yeah, Tembo, it sounds like a really nice brand. The thing that was interesting to me was the pace that they work at. I mean, we always stress how fast privates are. I feel like they take it to the next level of speed. He was saying he was doing deals first thing in the morning that'll like fund before the end of this week, and today is Thursday?
Yeah,
So
I
he's
think
saying
he actually
funding-
guaranteed 24-hour turnaround times, didn't he? Should we pin that on him?
Yeah. Just start inundating him with fake apps.
Yeah. No, but you're right. Like absolutely, like lightning speed turnaround times. 1 hour responses, and I think that's a reflection of the competitiveness of the market, which we've learned a lot about in the last couple of months.
Yeah. So it sounds like they have a good growth train ahead.
Yeah.
He shared my sentiment about the market, which I always like.
Yeah, I saw you light up there when he was talking about how he didn't like where the market was right now and wasn't super optimistic and sees more volatility and for at least another year and a half. I think he was kind of hinting at. They classify as a direct private lender, which it's funny because so many people have different definitions of this. I'm still not like super clear like what the right definition is, but it's still, they're basically leveraging like a line of credit. He'll walk you through it in the interview here, but it's not like the directly backed where an investor is funding each individual transaction because that typically moves into snail space. So
Private space still has all sorts of different names. Everyone likes to try and differentiate themselves with a product name. But anyways, there's only so many options. But to your point, check out the check out Improve.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one more point I had too, that they also lend in like tertiary markets, like outside of the GTA as well, which I think is probably a pretty big competitive advantage.
True.
And he also mentioned several times how much he hates Wawa, Ontario too. So tune in for that. Hopefully it doesn't offend anybody in the lovely town of Wawa.
Yeah, he wasn't keen to lend out there.
No.
But check it out, guys.
All right.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the Canadian Private Lenders Podcast, a show covering the private lending industry, the mortgage broker space, and the Canadian economy. Your hosts are Neal Andreino and Ryan MacNeil. Enjoy.
All right, we've got Arlen Ekstein here from Tembo Financial. Arlen, how are you making out today?
Hey guys, doing great, thanks.
Awesome.
How are you guys?
Glad to have you. I think we're doing pretty good. It's freezing cold here in Halifax, but that's no surprise for late November. Neal, how you feeling?
The cold weather's coming here in Toronto as well.
I heard you guys
Not
got
quite
snow
on
already.
the ground. Yeah, but it melted. That's pretty standard for November. They throw a warning to get your winter tires on early. Then they throw some warm weather at you, and then you think summer's coming, and then right back to winter.
Yeah. Although,
Arlen, I got to ask, who's they that you're referring to with the weather control?
pulling out the tough questions early.
Yeah, I don't know, the weather gods.
Good answer.
I have heard we can control it now. They have they like shoot little cotton balls up into the sky and then it forces precipitation.
Are we going to conspiracy theory, Neal, already, or what?
Yeah, I thought this was a mortgage podcast.
Let's get back on track here. What's going on? Anyways, okay, Arlen, why don't you just give us like a quick overview? Maybe go back and like talk a bit about your background, kind of how you came into private lending, and then we can get into more about Tembo Financial, which I don't think we actually know a ton about. So we're quite curious to learn about who you guys are and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll start with myself. Like many in this industry, mortgages was never really a focus for me growing up. Actually, since COVID, I was always in the sponsorship and ad sales realm of things. Previous to COVID, I owned my own sales consulting business. Most of what we did was streamlining sponsorship sales with big brands and funneling the funds down to association events. Then March 14th, 2020 happened. COVID was announced across the world, and associations and I guess the world just shut down. So there was no events happening during 2020, and I had to make a drastic pivot as my business was ramping up and being very, very successful. I had to shut it down pretty much on March 14th, 2020. And then I met our owner and CEO, Aaron Greenspan. And to be honest, that changed my life forever.
Cool. What was that conversation like?
I was pretty honest, to be honest. I was pretty honest with Aaron. I told him that I didn't know anything about mortgages. I know that they're on a house. I had very basic knowledge. About mortgages, not really anything about private lending, to be honest with you. But I had a lot of experience with sales and a lot of experience with marketing. And he said, look, I'm happy to mentor you. It's the most important part of the business. And stick under my wing and, just have an open mind and we'll get through this. And fast forward 5 years later, here I am, VP of Sales and Marketing at Tembo Financial. And, we're growing year over year. And yeah, it's been amazing.
What did you step into first with Tembo when you first made the jump?
I was thrown into the deep end. I was trying to underwrite files with him.
Nice.
And I remember one moment or one instance where a deal came in from Wawa, Ontario, which is probably a population of like 300. I don't know if you've driven across Canada, but it's pretty much famous for a giant goose. And there's pretty much a tackle shop, a post office, and maybe a donut shop. There's an airport, and that's pretty much the whole town. So I get this deal and I'm pumped because the deal came in and he goes, so what do you think? And I go, all right, give me a little bit. So I go on my computer. I'm like, it's a very small area. I call a real estate buddy and I'm like, hey, can you do me a solid pull? How many sales happened in Wawa in the last year? I finally get this information about 2.5 hours later. I get to the conclusion that no, this is not something that I would lend my own money on and I wouldn't feel comfortable. So I run into Aaron's office, tell him that, and he goes, I could have told you that in 15 seconds. Where your head's at. So you're on the right track and you're going to be successful in this business.
I just picked up on something there. I know you started in private lending because you said 2.5 hours was forever. And if you'd started in banking before, you would have a completely different mindset. But I wanted to ask before we get into Tembo, because I was similar coming into the industry too. I was in a completely different industry before coming in. I came directly to private lending, and I'm very thankful for that. Do you have any opinion from like people you've seen get into like the alt space or private space who come from a banking background relative to just coming in cold and starting from scratch?
The people that I've spoken in depth about this, it's a night and day difference, to be honest, from what they're telling me. Like what you were alluding to, things move much slower. There's very specific guidelines. It's very rigid with the banks. And then when they get thrown into the wild, wild west, which really isn't the wild, wild west anymore, there's so much flexibility. Speed is crucial. They get to use their brains. So hearing that early on in my career, it gave me peace of mind that I've landed in the right side of the business. And to be honest, now looking back 5 years, I don't think I'd want to be anywhere else in the industry. Private lending is a great place. There's so much opportunity. Private lending as a whole is very much mainstream now. And I think private lenders mix. We're going to be eating up a lot of the market share. So it's a very exciting time right now for private lenders and then within the mortgage industry. So I'm excited that I jumped in early and can't wait to see where we go.
Nice. With that, let's talk about Tembo a little bit. I guess the first thing that pops out to us is when you look online, the first thing that comes up is direct private lender. What does that exactly mean? I know for myself, I was wondering if it meant you guys are lending directly to your clients, or is it just a way of kind of labeling that you guys are lending directly on property, or what is that exactly?
Yeah, so great question, Neal. So we are in a MIC. We don't syndicate any mortgages. We're only administering mortgages for ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're licensed by FSRA as a brokerage for the sole purpose of marketing ourselves as a lender. It makes it very, very easy for brokers to work with us because they don't have to fill out any Form 1s or any documentation other than, the standard docs that you need, letters of direction, disclosures, that sort of thing. But there's no Form 1, so it's super easy for brokers to start working with Tembo. And really, it's a fantastic place being a balance sheet lender. We pretty much have an internal line of credit that's ready to go when we need it. And it allows us to operate very quickly. So we legitimately can provide deal feedback in an hour. So when I'm saying, Ryan, 2.5 hours was a long time, our broker clientele expect us to have answers within an hour. We can provide commitments within 4 hours. And if we need to rush a deal, we can legitimately close in 24 to 48 hours. And that's just simply the way that we underwrite, the way that our fund is set up, and the fact that we've got this line of credit ready to go when we need it.
Is that common practice in Ontario? Like, are brokers expecting to be able to call you now and know if the deal's a go by the end of the day?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I've already responded to deals that came in from 9 p.m. We've underwritten them before I hopped on here. And just for everyone listening, it's 9:40 a.m. here in Toronto. I've already responded to 3 deals. So, we're lightning fast. Like, legitimately, we can get answers to brokers very, very quickly.
Okay. And then what percentage of deals do you think overall of your whole book are you funding in less than a week from the time they come in the door to the time the money actually goes out? Like, is that a big part of your book? Is
I'd say
quick
8
turnaround?
Because I'm not underwriting. I'm on the marketing and sales side of things.
True.
I'm not looking back and reflecting on what we currently have on our book, to be honest with you. But I would say that 80% of our deal flow is closed within a week. Sometimes if we're talking about purchase closings, in December 15th or, 2 weeks from now, then obviously that's not going to close this week. But deals that come in, that's a second mortgage, debt consolidation, deposit loans, whatever we're funding, often is closed this week, often within a few days.
Cool. That's impressive. This is just why the private industry is eroding the big 5. It's like 6 weeks in there.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'll get to one of our big products in a little bit because I think it's really talks about who Tembo or what Tembo is and how we started and really the grassroots days of Tembo Financial. But yeah, we've got this product where during the hot days of COVID, realtors and homeowners were contacting us and we were turning these deposit loans around in legitimately 24 to 48 hours. They would call and say, hey, I need money tomorrow. And I say, well, tomorrow's unrealistic considering it's 3 p.m. already, but can you get money in, the following morning? And they say, yeah, that would work. And those deals close. And honestly, that's how we built the name and our reputation here in Ontario.
So before we go deeper on Tembo and your background story, I want to go a bit more deep into the direct private lending thing because, a lot of times when you hear that, whether it's in the States or different parts of Canada, people may assume a direct private lender is someone who pairs an individual investor on an individual transaction. But you're not saying that's how you guys operate, right? You're saying you have readily available funds, whether it's through line of credit, or maybe you can just kind of explain how does your pool of funds operate? Where does it come from? Are you backed by institutions or by individuals primarily?
So I can't really get into the specifics, but Tembo Financial is the lender for the purpose of this conversation. Tembo Financial lends our money. So when you're looking at title, Tembo Financial Inc. is on title for every single one of our deals. We're not syndicating. We're not administering deals on behalf of investors. There's way too much red tape, way too many headaches dealing with investors on the back end to go that route. So, our internal line of credit, it's there. It's Tembo Financial funds, and it's ready to be deployed when it needs to be used.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess it would be, and a 48-hour turnaround, trying to pair investors would be...
Doesn't happen.
It would be a nightmare.
Collect the money in advance and then tell them that it might not get utilized until a certain date and then overnight snapshot. It could go out the door. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
do you wanna
very
get into-
unique.
Go ahead, sorry.
Neal, going back to your question, is this common in the Ontario market? I don't think so. I mean, there may be some lenders that are structured our way, but I think that this is really how Tembo differentiates themselves in the market, is the fact that we're able to get money quickly in the hands of homeowners really makes the difference. And, once we put a commitment out, we fund. It's not like we put a commitment out and then deals fizzle, at the lawyers. Brokers know when they come to Tembo and they get paper, that deal is going to fund, and it's going to fund quickly if they need it to.
Which is also nice for you guys, because then when you're putting paper on something that you're likely, your funding ratio is probably much higher than a lot of the industry as well, because you're coming in that quickly with an expectation to turn it around. It's not like they're going to go out and continue to shop you at that point.
That's what we expect. That's what we hope.
Yeah, I feel like we're at the competitive market. If it was a longer timeline, the chance of being shopped goes up so much.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, so many people focus on pricing, but honestly, there's not enough weight on speed and customer service in this industry. And, if brokers focused on speed and customer service and transparency, not only would they be doing a huge service to their client, they'd also be able to get deals done. And having transparency in this industry is so important that if you can go to bed at night knowing there's going to be no surprises on origination or on payout, it makes the world and it makes the industry stronger, because what people are seeing on a commitment and what they're getting makes all the difference. And that's really what we do here at Tembo Financial.
That makes sense.
And that's also why a lot of brokers trust us to get their deals done. And I think that that's why the speed is a very big factor for sure. But I don't think brokers are shopping us because they know that when they come to Tembo, they're getting sound advice. They know that if we say that we're going to fund, we're going to fund. And if they need it to be quick, they know that we're going to be able to get the money quick and it won't kill the deal, because we're that partner that can get the money in the client's bank account quick.
You're not blowing smoke.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's go back and kind of talk a bit more about your history. So can you kind of talk about, how long you guys have been operating for, and a bit about the background story as well?
Yeah, for sure. So we started back in 2015. So we've been around for over 10 years now. Story is very interesting. Our CEO, Aaron Greenspan, he used to work in the commission advance business, advancing realtors' commissions. And these realtors would call him a few times a month, and he'd ask, what do you need the money for? And he goes, oh, well, Neal's selling his property, but he wants to buy before selling, but he's house rich, cash poor, and needs money for a deposit. Okay, cool. Gave them the money. A week later, that same realtor would contact him, and he'd be like, what do you need another 50 grand for? I just gave you 40 last week. What's going on? He goes, oh, well, Ryan needs to do some renovations before I can list his property for sale. So I've got another closing coming up, and I'm going to leverage that money, give Ryan the money, and we'll maximize the sale price and list his property, and all is good. All right, sure, that makes sense. But what realtors don't realize when they're leveraging their own commission, there's a lot of risk that can blow up in that realtor's face by doing so. Right now, the market is soft. And if realtors are promising properties to sell by a certain timeline or at a certain sale price, and it doesn't happen, that homeowner is going to be upset. So they could walk away, and because they're not registering these mortgages, good luck trying to recoup that money. So that was really the impetus of Tembo Financial. We started as a two-trick pony, just doing deposit loans and renovation loans to provide that flexibility and peace of mind for the realtor that we were working with, but more importantly for the homeowner. And it really grew from that because we were able to fund in 24 to 48 hours, and we were able to offer open and flexible terms to provide tremendous flexibility to these homeowners and the realtors. The word got to brokers, and we started getting calls from brokers. And at that time, we were 100% working with realtors and direct clients. And then the brokers that they were working with said, hey, Tembo, I got your name from this realtor. Can you help me with this debt consolidation loan? Can you help me with this first mortgage closing? And then we've really grown from those days to be a full A to Z private lender, doing everything from purchase financing, debt consolidation. We even do seconds behind the chip product. So we've grown in lengths since the 2015 days. And something interesting, a little bit of history about the name of Tembo. Tembo means elephant in Swahili. And so Aaron is South African, and he wanted to pay homage to his grandfather and to South Africa. So he used to go elephant watching with his grandfather back in South Africa. And when he came to Canada, he wanted to start a company and landed on Tembo.
Very cool.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you've already kind of touched on like differentiating factors for Tembo. It said it's all about speed and customer service for you guys. But I'm assuming there's a lot. Well, obviously there's a lot of players in the Ontario private and mixed space, and a lot of them are probably advertising similar things. So can you kind of talk further about what differentiates Tembo, and maybe go a little deeper on where you guys like to lend, if it's just Ontario, if it's specific areas, if you go rural, urban, and just help us understand a bit more there.
In private lending, time is everything. The faster you move, the faster deals close. At Mortgage Automator, we build a platform that transforms how credit unions and enterprise lenders originate, service, and scale their business. No spreadsheets, no chaos. Just precision, automation, and control. From loan origination to servicing and investor management, every step is seamless so you can focus on what matters most. Growing your portfolio and customer base, not managing it. From AI to compliance and everything in between, Mortgage Automator is trusted by hundreds of private lenders across North America and is the highest rated platform on G2 and Capterra. Mortgage Automator, powering the future of private lending.
Yeah, for sure. So we're only licensed in Ontario right now. We've got a very wide lending area. I would say from Sudbury to Toronto, the Ottawa Valley to Windsor, and we'll lend anywhere, pretty much anywhere and anywhere in between. So as long as there's real estate activity in these areas, we're definitely open to lending there. Areas that we love to work in and lend in, the Ottawa area, mainly because of the clientele and the client profile that's in the Ottawa general area. We know the Chatham and Windsor area quite well, so we do like lending in those out in the west coast of Ontario as well. And then pretty much anywhere and anywhere in between. We've done a lot of deals in the Bancroft area, Aurelia, Barrie. Yeah, we're open-minded. As long as there's real estate activity and it makes sense, we'll go there.
Cool.
But going to my original story, we won't lend in Wawa, Ontario.
That makes sense. I could see you leveraging the goose, though. Throw a little charge on the goose.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I'll go visit Wawa for like a fishing trip or something like that, but don't feel comfortable lending up there.
Knowing you guys lend across such a wide area, how are you turning these deals around so quickly? Do you guys have a score sheet that you're utilizing, like your own personal knowledge and understanding of the marketplaces?
It's a mix of everything, to be honest. I mean, it's our knowledge of the geographic areas. I've traveled quite extensively in the area, but we also have a proprietary system that we use internally to look at areas, to look at properties, and get a good sense of the valuations in specific areas, what the real estate turnaround is looking like. And it just allows us to get very comfortable quite quickly with the areas. And it's crazy. Being 5 years in this business, you would think that I would know every little nook and cranny of Ontario, but sometimes brokers throw a curveball and I'm like, where is this place? And then I look and it's like a small little hamlet outside of a much bigger area that we are familiar with. But Yeah, our proprietary system really helps us hone in, turn quick and concrete answers within our underwriting team, and send that information back to the brokers.
That makes sense. It's interesting how you're using kind of the volumes within a marketplace to help indicate. So even if you're not super familiar with it, if you can pull up the fact that they've transacted whatever amount of volume, you feel way more comfortable knowing that the money's turning over.
Yeah, exactly. Like if we're looking at a property and there's been 30 real estate deals this year, Wawa, Ontario, and they've been sitting on the market for 285 days, that's not a market I don't think any lender would want to lend in unless you're a big fisherman or a hunter and you want to go utilize the great outdoors up there in those areas.
It's funny.
We don't have to talk that far in that rural of Northern Ontario. There's definitely areas that have a similar sales demographic and turnover much closer to the GTA. But, since we started with Wawa, Ontario, and, soon after this podcast, everyone's going to know the goose. I figured I'd just stick to Wawa since it's such a great example.
Just beating on them.
Just hammering Wawa today. It's funny. It's funny you mentioned, hearing new places in Ontario. Still at this point, 5 years in, I'm 10 years into the industry now, and our primary area is in Nova Scotia, which is 1 million people versus 15, 16 million in Ontario. And every single week, I'll still hear of a place that I've never heard of out here. So I assume that's going to continue for you indefinitely in Ontario.
Oh, I have no doubt, and I like it because I love geography. And I like to look on the map and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, it's not that far. It's only 15 minutes from here or 20 minutes from there. I'm familiar with the region. I just didn't know that this 4-street bubble was called this or that. Right. So it's great to learn new areas.
Yeah. Let's move on to, I want to kind of understand how you guys approach property valuation, because every lender does this differently. So can you kind of talk about what your typical approach is at Tembo and how you guys keep your investor capital safe from that perspective?
Yeah, for sure. So I think valuation and LTV is really, really important. So using our proprietary system really helps us. And having a good idea of those areas is also very beneficial to us to keep our investors happy. Really looking at the areas and seeing what's sold is key for us. Right now, it's more challenging than ever. And I think that I always say this to brokers, that appraisers right now in this snapshot of the market have the hardest job in the entire industry. And the reason is houses aren't selling, condos aren't selling. So if you're expecting a professional to go into an area where there's been 3 sales and the houses are unique, how can they put their finger on a specific valuation that lenders are going to use to lend money out and expect a house to sell in that area to sell for that exact number? So we take a realistic and a common sense approach to evaluating values of properties across Ontario. And we have a sense of what pockets across the province are doing better than others. Some areas we found are real estate investor heavy, and those areas have seen big drastic drops. So you kind of look at the information that you have. We look at the information that our system's providing us, and we kind of put it all together and try and make it make sense as best as possible. Look at past sales, look at the uniqueness of certain properties and find other properties in the area that are similar and have a variance of what they could potentially be worth in today's market. And if we have an appraisal, that helps to kind of strengthen our thoughts on what the valuation is or could be. But again, there has to be some variance because in a lot of the areas that we're lending, there's not a lot of sales data, and these appraisers are having a very, very challenging time putting their finger on specific valuations. And are you guys finding that too on the East Coast?
We've been fortunate that sales volumes remained fairly steady. I think partially just our price point is a fair bit lower, and we have a lot of government employment, so it's still kind of a turning over market. And so and we also didn't have as much of an investment boom. It was a huge growth for us, but I think in comparison to the rest of Canada, we don't have as high of a ratio of investors owning real estate here.
I'd say we're seeing a little bit of it, Neal, kind of catch up to us from like the peak of our market in 21 and 22, where like values just kept going up, 15, 20% annually, right? And we never seen that out here before. And now kind of looking back on a couple deals that have lingered for a couple years, you're seeing, okay, that was overappraised at that value. And we got to scale it back. So we're kind of it feels like we're kind of entering that phase where values are settling, and hopefully it's not going to have too much volatility from an appraisal perspective. But we've been okay overall.
Awesome. Yeah. Happy to hear that for you guys. Makes things a little easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To that point, are you guys finding you're able to get deals put out on some of these condos? Because I know that's like the investment or investor heavy marketplace that's taking the most heat, it seems like, at least from the news cycle that I'm seeing. Are you able to, have you guys been able to successfully lend on some, or just kind of avoiding that space as much as you can?
No, we'll do them if it makes sense. Again, going down to how Tembo underwrites, we're just very creative and out of the box. So in a lot of cases, we're able to get these condos done, looking at it differently. A deal comes into our office and they say, hey, look, it's not going to work the way that you're submitting it, but what if we do it this way? Or what if we structure it that way? And many times the broker hasn't thought of positioning it or structuring the deal that way. And the clients are open to it. So we have been able to get condos done. They are very challenging, especially on standalones, and even more so if they are pre-construction. Again, the values, they overpaid in many cases, even if they did purchase them in 2020, 2021, and they're just closing today. The loan to values that we're comfortable with on standalone are usually much lower than what they need to get the deal across the finish line. But a lot of these people in Toronto who are purchasing condos have multiple properties. And there are creative and strategic ways that we can recreate and restructure the deal to make it across the finish line. So we are able to help the client out.
Cool.
There's equity elsewhere in the portfolio.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, love that.
And I really didn't spend too much time on this, but being a balance sheet lender allows us to be quick and adapt to market changes. We were around during many booms and busts in the market, and we've been able to very quickly change our top level lending parameters to move with the market and provide new products and go to market quickly because of the way that we're structured. So it's been fantastic. I mean, it's been very challenging trying to get deals across the finish line in today's market, which I'm sure we're going to get into a little bit later. But being able to have funds internally has allowed us to adapt and provide quick to market solutions that other lenders might not be able to do so very quickly because they've got hoops that they got to jump through. They've got red tape that they got to sidestep, and they have a lot of investors that have various risk profiles that they need to be aware of and cognizant of. Yeah.
Are you a private mortgage lender in Ontario looking for trusted legal support? Meet Grecky Carter Professional Corporation, a boutique real estate law firm in Midtown Toronto with deep expertise in private lending and mortgage enforcement. Grecky Carter closes hundreds of private mortgage deals every year, and when recovery becomes necessary, they handle both contested and uncontested enforcement with precision, from forbearance agreements to power of sale and cost recovery strategies. For lenders who demand clarity, efficiency, and results, Grecky Carter has you covered. Visit gclaw.ca to learn more and safeguard your private lending investments.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So you've kind of hinted at it a couple times, Arlen, but how are you feeling about the current lending landscape in Ontario? And obviously it's been quite volatile the last couple of years. And it does sound like you guys kind of focus on, or you're comfortable with tertiary markets outside of the GTA as well. So can you kind of give us an indication of how you're feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the volatility is done. I'll be honest with you. I think there's so many factors in the Ontario market right now, and really across the Canadian market, that is keeping a lot of people on the sidelines. I'm at the belief that our economy isn't as strong as people make it out to be. I know the stock market's showing a completely different story, but yeah, the economy isn't strong, and I think that there's cracks starting to show for that case to be true. I think that the tariff talks between the U.S. is also causing a lot of concern for real estate investors, homeowners. The fact that a lot of first mortgages with COVID pricing are starting to renew and have been renewing for the last year and a half, and will continue to do so for the next year. And we're already starting to see here in Ontario an increase of power of sales and defaults. And I think that all of these things are sort of in a melting pot to provide pressure to keep people on the sidelines. I do expect there to be a continuation of defaults and power of sales because these first mortgages are going to be renewing close to double, or if not over double, what these homeowners have been paying for the last 3 to 5 years. And it causes concern because that's not helpful for anyone. It doesn't show a strong market. But I think that once all is said and done, we will start seeing some stability in probably the spring market 2027. But once those renewals happen and that turbulence kind of softens, that's really spring 2027 is kind of where I'm anticipating the market to become more balanced.
Stabilization on pricing, kind of a base level where people are still willing to pay.
Yeah, price stabilization, consumer confidence. I think a mix of all of that's going to happen when people have the confidence from their own internal financial situation. When they renew their mortgage, they say, oh, I can afford the higher mortgage payment and still continue on with my current lifestyle. The people who unfortunately aren't able to do so, they either find solutions or they move, they downsize and move out of the market. But I think spring 2027, there will be more stability from a valuation perspective. But I also think, and most importantly, in my opinion, consumer confidence perspective.
That makes sense. With that marketplace, does Tembo see this kind of as like a time to be protective and cautious, or is there maybe space for you guys to grow? Like, what are the coming years? Obviously, that's where the market's at. What's your guys' intention?
We want to do what makes sense for the homeowner. We really take a customer-centric approach in our underwriting. We love stories. We want to understand where the clients are today, where they're trying to go tomorrow. And if the product that we put them in is going to help get them back on their feet and where they need to go, provide some financial peace of mind, clear up their credit, whatever the situation may be, then it would make sense for us and we'll get the deal done. There are a lot of scenarios here where requests from brokers are really pigeonholing these clients into situations they might not know are going to be happening. So we like to foresee what could happen in the future, assuming that all else is equal. So realistically, if a client can't refinance with a bank or a B lender right now, chances are they likely won't be able to next year either. Mm-hmm. So if the exit strategy is a refi and nothing's really going to change with their scenario, do I feel comfortable putting a client into that deal? Likely not. In many cases we do, but there's a lot more thought, and there's a bigger discussion internally about what the outcome is and what could an alternative exit strategy look like. Because we're not the lender to want to power sale a client. I don't think anyone is, but we really take time and effort into understanding the story and making sure that the exit strategy is realistic, because we want to be my whole team's motto is to make the broker look like a superhero. And we do that with customer service and transparency. The clients have a need. It may be unrealistic in some scenarios and in a lot of scenarios that we're seeing right now. And a lot of brokers are just trying to find a solution. But if we can work together with these brokers to find a realistic solution that is going to get these clients to their end goal, that is what we're trying to do here at Tembo Financial. So because we provide tremendous customer service, we get really detailed into underwriting, and we bring on the broker into this system. And the fact that we can do it very quickly, it provides an extra layer of understanding between the lender and the broker. And it creates peace of mind for the broker and, most importantly, the client, because there's no surprises from origination to payout. And that provides consumer confidence, which is really what we're trying to do and instill here. So with that being said, yes, we've got very strong goals to grow, even in this unusual market that we're in right now. We want to grow our book over $50,000. Increase our book by over 50 million by 2026 into 2026. So I think it's a very achievable goal for us. We've lent out millions and millions of dollars. Our name is really getting out there in the market, and our broker feedback has been tremendous.
Nice. That makes sense. I think we share a lot of similar principles.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
That's amazing to hear.
Neal, do you want to go one more before we start to wrap here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we got that last question. This is something that we ask everybody in industry. But knowing what you know in your day-to-day, where you guys are so fast, what's one thing that you would change in your operation or with the people that you work with to make the mortgage industry better?
It's an amazing question. I think it's really a two-part answer, if I can. The first one is having a more intensive licensing process. I think brokers' roles right now is becoming more and more important. And I think right now is really the true test of a broker. So teaching people with a 5-day course is a great way to get their feet wet in the market, but to become a true expert, especially in such a challenging market that we're in right now, having more intensive training will really help brokers be experts right out the gate. The second thing with that, and I think it's really the bridge to my first point, is having a much stronger and open conversation about mentorship. I think brokers who are pivoting from an industry not within mortgages, so not coming from the banks like you and I, Ryan, we don't know anyone necessarily in the mortgage industry, and it may be challenging for people to find a mentor. But in my experience, a mentor has made me successful. They've changed my life. They've shortened the learning cycle tremendously by a number of years because they were able to educate me on their past experiences and be able to project to the future, something that I think someone that's just coming in on their own wouldn't have the ability to do. So I think a mix of a more intensive licensing process in conjunction with a mentorship program would make mortgage brokers so much more successful, so much faster, and it would create a lot more consumer confidence, because when a homeowner comes to a broker, they know that this person is going to help them get the best mortgage for their exact situation.
I like it.
Yeah, it's like a lot of other professions where let's say you take your courses, then you graduate, then you have to work under somebody for a while, and they have to sign off almost to kind of qualify that you've got an understanding and have actually worked for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. You can't go take a college plumbing program for 2 years and then start calling people saying, "Hey, I'm going to install a bathroom in your new house." Like, I don't think a plumber would be successful doing that. So I think having this mentorship and a more intensive program to give real life scenarios to new entrants into the market, it's going to help. It's going to help the market as a whole, and it's going to help those individual agents be successful quicker.
Totally.
All right, Arlen, that was a fantastic overview of Tembo. Now we're going to hit you with our bonus question. So, do you want to talk about food, or do you want to talk about sports?
I can't have my heart broken talking about the Blue Jays, so let's go
I find
with
talking
food.
helps, to be honest. I was unfortunately at Game 7, so I'm still not over it.
I've spoken at length about it. I've cried, I've laughed. I was actually at the viewing party and stayed until the 16th inning. So I was at the Rogers Center until past like 2:15, 2:30 in the morning. Heartbreak. And yeah, just being in Toronto, I was on the subway after the Game 7 loss. And I can tell you, you can hear a pin drop on the TTC going back home. So the city was hurting, and I think the country was hurting after that horrible loss. So hit me with food.
I'll just I'll add on to that. I took the subway after the game as well, and because I'd been last minute coming up to Game 7, I had my hotel was way outside of the city, so it was the longest subway ride of my life, and like you said, very, very quiet. So hopefully that never happens again, but we'll see. All right.
Next year we'll get
food question. I mean, food is one of the things I miss most about living in Toronto. But maybe you can talk about. We often ask about favorite pizza places, but we'll just give you a carte blanche. Tell us, your favorite spot or two in the city.
Okay. As you know, Toronto has a very diverse food scene, so it's very difficult to just pinpoint one specific location. So I'll rifle off a few. My favorite burger in this city is a toss-up between a place called Doddy's and a place called Richmond Station. I love eating burgers. I find that the city has moved to pretty much exclusively being smash burgers. Doddy's and Richmond Station, they're high-quality, old-fashioned burgers, which I love. Favorite pizza? I'm going to go with Revolver.
New one.
Yeah.
Okay. What part of the city
Check it out next time you're in Toronto. Sorry, say that again.
What part of the city is Revolver in?
It's actually in Etobicoke.
Love it.
So I'm stretching a little bit outside of the core.
No, Etobicoke counts.
And if you want like a hearty Italian sandwich, there's a spot also in Etobicoke called Buongiorno.
I've been there before.
It's only open Monday to Friday. So, if you're here for any work meetings, definitely check it out.
It's in like a little old strip mall, isn't it? Buongiorno?
Yeah.
I went there a couple times ago. Yes, phenomenal. It's great.
Fantastic.
And I've been to Richmond Station before too, but didn't know about the burger. So I'll have to try that next time. Great tips.
Check out the burger.
Love it.
And Richmond Station is, for all you listening, especially out of towners, Richmond Station is like a fair wage restaurant, which means that you don't have to tip because the tip is already built into their pricing.
Cool.
So I've tried to tip multiple times and they say, no, it's all good. So their burger is amazing and their customer service and just aesthetic. I love Richmond Station. Yeah. It's a good vibe overall.
Let's put that on the list next time we're up, Neal.
It's on there.
Love it.
On our follow-up podcast, I'd love to hear what you guys thought about it.
You can skip on going to Canoe at the top of the CN Tower next time, like a first timer.
I've never been. Is it good?
It's terrible, I think. I've never been either. But...
Oh, really?
It wasn't spectacular. The view is really cool.
Yeah.
You're paying for the view, I think.
Yeah.
I've heard from other people you're paying for the view.
Yeah, I will second
that. But
then
you might as well just do the skywalk when you feel your heart coming out of your chest and you can watch a Jays game from the top of the CN Tower. I think that's better money well spent versus going up to Canoe, but hey, to each their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'll do that next time I'm hungover, just hanging off the side of the CN Tower.
Call me next time you're here. I've never done it, but I'm definitely open to trying it out.
I will not
make
be
it
joining
happen.
you guys for that one. All right, Arlen, anything else you want to add on our conversation before we wrap here?
No, thanks so much for doing what you guys are doing. I think that this is a fantastic podcast, and I had a great time chatting with you, and look forward to being on here again in the future.
Beautiful.
Have a great one, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys. It's Neal, your co-host and co-founder at Keystone Mortgage Investment Corp. and Director of Investor Relations. I'm also a real estate agent, real estate investor, and business owner.
And your co-host and co-founder of Keystone Mortgage Investment Corporation, Ryan MacNeil. Keystone MIC is licensed under the Mortgage Regulations Act of Nova Scotia, license number 3000844, and through FCMB, license 89280. Keep in mind, the views of this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not financial advice.